Welcome back to the Nobody Entertainment Podcast, a podcast where we come together to talk about our lives, TV, music, movies, video games, or whatever else is entertaining us over the last week. I'm Nobody James Black, and the other Nobody is John Ockert. John, how has your week been?
My week has been stressful, to be honest. Work has been something of a CF, a cluster fudge, fridge. Um, yeah,
Cluster fridge. That's true. What have we've never really gone into what we do. I don't particularly want to say like the restaurant I work at. I think I've said I'm like a restaurant manager or something along those lines. But but what do you do?
me?
Yeah, you.
Technically, I'm in IT, but I am a hired problem solver. So, it could be something small and mundane that somebody just overlooks because they're frustrated, flustered, or don't have the skill set to find a solution for, or something that's big, overt, and needs some actual technical background to solve the issue or to try to get it going to what they want. So I get that going. That's pretty much what I do. I solve problems.
Sure. And what's stressing you out this week from work?
Uh, so to be honest with you, the big thing is I did a lot of outdoor labor work because I took on a task. The client who wanted the task done put certain stipulations or guidelines to which they wanted me to abide by against my recommendation. And they really hammered home that this is how they would like it perceived or done, a temporary. Okay, so I played by their rules. I came up with a solution. I advised against it one more time, but they're the customer and they're paying us, so we do what they want. Um, so I got the outside portion of it done. The inside portion of the project was done, but it didn't do exactly what they wanted to do. There were certain limitations with it, which were perceived by me beforehand. And so now the project's done by Thursday. Like it's done. I get emails, hey, we're not seeing what we want to see out of this. And I'm just like, hey, what you sent doesn't really describe what you're talking about, so give me some more information. And then they automatically it becomes like a hot ticket. Like this email that he sends in, it's like, hey, should I contact your boss or your other boss, basically? And I was like, yeah, I could see that being as a problem, and feel free to contact, my other two bosses, because I have other clients who have other things that they need done, projects that I'm going to resolve their problems, and they listen to me and allow me to do what I deemed necessary to do what they wanted to done. All the math, all the logistics, you know, all that's done. So he went against my advisement. As soon as he went against my advisement, Thursday rolls around. He realizes it's not operating how he wants to. And now it's like, oh, shit, we got to get this done by Friday. I need this resolved, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I ain't got time for this because I have other people that listen to me and they're happy with what I do. So,
So if they'd just gone with your recommendation and they wouldn't have had these problems in the first place.
correct.
And did they bend to your suggestion or are they still steadfast on what they were looking for?
I'm not sure. I supplied additional options from a best, what I recommend, to the lowest, like a 4 tier, 5 tier plan to the owner of my company because he was going to take on that call. Because I literally do not have the time to baby this one client to coax them into doing what is the right thing, because they tied our hands earlier. I literally have other projects to do. I had a couple law offices that I had to take care of, and they were rock solid and flying, and got them taken care of, Friday and Thursday. So I didn't have time to deal with them at that point. So he got passed off. I mean, I supplied additional information so they could take that call, but yeah, it's frustrating.
Sure. Well, that doesn't sound like a ton of fun. As far as my week goes, this last weekend Fourth of July weekend we went on a camping trip, and as I've told you in the past, but we had a good time. Nothing too crazy. We did some canoeing, we did some swimming up in the Peninsula State Park in Wisconsin, But a member of my wife's family came to the camping trip, and he found out that he had come into contact with somebody that uh, had been diagnosed with COVID-19. So he didn't realize it at the time. So I don't want to specifically blame this person for getting us uh, potentially sick. But at this point, he ended up getting diagnosed with COVID. His wife got diagnosed with COVID. My sister-in-law got diagnosed with COVID, and my wife, children, and myself have been tested. And I've been doing our best, or we've been doing our best to quarantine over this last week. So I've not been able to go to work. We've been just kind of locked up in the house. The good thing is we were able to get the Walmart order and pickup service. It's actually come to our side of town, so we're able to utilize that, which is pretty cool. But none of us are showing any aggressive symptoms, just minor fevers on my children and my wife's part. But that's been kind of coming and going. I've felt fine, but I've um, been, like I said, doing my best to just stay away from people and stay out of contact to do our best. Obviously, we didn't think it was too big of an issue because our entire family has been doing an absolute best to socially distance, and we've been wearing our masks in the public and at X, Y, and Z. But the one thing I'd like to stress here is it's actually my wife's father who wore I'm sorry, took a meeting at work and didn't wear his mask one time, and this gentleman that got him sick was diagnosed with it after the meeting, of course. And the day we went on our camping trip, he gets a call saying that he had come into contact with this guy who had been diagnosed. And long story short, it's very important that we um, do our best. And I know you're pretty diligent about wearing your mask. I know I'm pretty diligent about wearing my mask when I go out into public, but it's still frustrating how quickly this whole thing can spread. Because just in this one incident, potentially came into contact with at least the 15 of us that were on the trip, which five of them are children. Myself, who I work at a industry that I come into contact with a lot of people. Again, I'm a
When you're
restaurant
saying
manager.
yourself, you're not included in that children's group.
That's true. I'm not one of the five children.
I'm just.
I might have the mentality of it, but I'm not one of them.
It sounds like you got a
Um,
ball of stress going on over there about this whole COVID thing.
it's been a catch-22 because I'm going to be honest with you. As far as work goes, I'm perfectly fine with missing out on it in this time frame. I'm just in such a frustrated place with my job because of COVID-19. My business is not doing very well. I work at a corporately owned restaurant. Um, they're handling this situation just like they would if they were a struggling corporately owned industry. Um, but like I said before, my air conditioning's out. It's been 85 to 90 degrees in my store on a daily basis. I've done everything I can to try to get it fixed, and they're really just dragging their feet. We have 6 out of 7 of our units inoperable, which three or four of them need to be flat out like replaced, which that's a multi like it's just a huge expense. And when you don't have a lot of money coming in, because I mean our sales are down company wide somewhere in the ballpark of like 85%. They're not going to want to come in here and spend 12 to $15,000 on an air conditioning unit, multiply that by 5 units, or I'm sorry, 3 or 4 units. Um, Especially not knowing when things are going to get back to any kind of normal. So that's one small irritation, but not to mention the fact that in my job, I'm used to, again, it's restaurant management, but I'm used to, like you said, problem solving. I'm used to being stimulated at work because the one thing that's uh, interesting about my job, I guess, the one thing that constantly changes is the fact that we are thrown different interactions, different guest interaction, different, employee interaction, different product, different um, vendor issues, et cetera, et cetera. So the job is constantly changing, and I'm thrown just different stimulating situations. And what's happening right now is it's a lot of monotony. It's a lot of going to work, uh, doing the basic functions of an employee, and then going home and not getting any kind of, like I said,
I did a good
stimulation
job.
from it.
Yeah, any kind of
Yeah,
satisfaction. You're doing the
yeah,
grind. I
exactly.
think is what they call it, the grind.
Yeah,
You
and I've
go
been
in
with this
there,
company.
you sit down, you do your job, and you go home. So
And it's something simple, and most people, I think, maybe not most people, some people might enjoy that kind of a job. They just go in, do the job, and go home. But at some point, it starts to weigh on you. And we're what, like 4 months into this COVID-19 thing, so it's just not getting any better. It's been a lot of monotony, a lot of boredom. As a general manager, I'm working. 40 to 50 hours a week, while everyone else at my store is working much less, if at all. And they're getting 3, 4 days off a week, maybe 5 days in some cases. And I'm not saying I want to be off that much time, as this week has proven. I mean, this week with being on lockdown has been pretty stressful. Again, I'm not feeling ill, but just making sure that we aren't leaving the house. We're not coming in contact with people.
Doing your due
Everything that we do,
diligence.
yeah,
I
we're
mean,
doing everything we can to stay
like
away.
last night, technically there was a bachelor party I could have gone to for a friend who's gonna get married. I mean, like they were gonna have a big wedding. Now it's, it's moment of the peace or justice of the peace kind of thing. Just
Yeah,
because, yeah. Um, so I like a couple of my friends, even my brother, were gonna go over there, and I was like, in his industry, what he does, he comes into contact with not the greatest people of society. Sometimes maybe he'll come into somebody who's a decent person, but not the greatest. And so he has a high contact, high person rate to go with these people. And I was like, hey man, I mean, I made an excuse up, to be honest with you, because I had already dipped out on a couple of things that he wanted to do. Well, this whole COVID thing's going on. I was just like, I'm on call, so I can't come out. I'm sorry, man. So instead, I played
it's a real bummer.
some games. Yeah, it is,
This is
but
a really, really silly, unnecessary story, but I thought it was really funny. This is before we really got into the thick of it. We did run through the drive-through again. We got notified come Tuesday that he'd been diagnosed with COVID,
was it
and
Wendy's?
we had say that again.
Was it Wendy's?
No, it was actually Taco Bell this time. We did have Wendy's once this week as well. Those
Get them
those spicy
spicy
chicken nugs,
nugs.
man.
Damn.
Those are amazing. Yeah, I will admit.
Where
They have
were
the
we
two
at
for
when we
five right now. I'm
like
getting the spicy.
right before Arcady Trail? What town were we at where we literally waited? What was it? An hour and 15 in a drive-through?
Yeah, I don't know. That was in between Clinton and Macon's. So I really
Mawkins.
don't remember. Whatever. Doesn't
Macon's
matter.
is the other town that's spelled like bacon. Come on.
All right. All right. Macon Mawkins. Sorry. Yeah,
Mawkins.
we
Yeah,
waited
there
an
you go.
hour for those spicy nugs. And then the spicy chicken sandwich. It's a combo you can't beat. So two for $5. I'll
Dude, it
take it
was
every
great.
time.
It
But
was
we
great.
it always is. But we went to Taco Bell. I thought this was really funny because everyone, like you said, people are difficult. But we were going through the Taco Bell drive-through, and I pull up, and she says something to the tune of, how can I serve you today, or how's it going today? I said, great. How's it going for you? And she goes, oh, I'm having a Baja Blast. And then I go, I'm having a Baja Blast too. And she's like, that's unburritoable. I just I was like, I appreciate what you're doing here. I wonder how much of it is like corporate forcing, where they're like, say something stupid to make these people laugh. And it got me though. I will admit, it put a smile on my face.
Gotcha.
Um, but moving on from how terrible people are and how much our jobs suck at the moment, I uh, won't go any deeper into that at the moment. But John, let's move over into what's been entertaining us this
Speaking
week.
of moving
Normally, I would just
over,
put it to
you
you.
should move over to your left a little bit because you're leaning to the right and constantly putting your face in the logo. You like that
Is this
segue?
better?
Yeah, that's fine. I
That
mean,
looks
like,
good.
you're,
That's good.
yeah, you could go over a little bit to the right again. Not the left, but the right. There you go. Yeah, just center yourself. There, you're fine. You were just leaning over heavy, and I was like,
I do that. I'm a mover. I'm a shaker and a mover. But I'm going to go into what's been entertaining me because I know you have a couple of things. Mine is specifically entertainment on entertainment side. Be it actually I have three categories. I have uh, musical, video game, and I have television. I'm not going to give you an option. I'm going to go straight into the musical side. So the first thing that's been entertaining me this week is the Hamilton release plus. It was released on July 3rd of 2020. I know that you have not seen it. Um, and I know you've heard me say this before, but I just want to acknowledge that I'm a big fan of Hamilton, the musical. I personally am not a big theater person. I don't have a lot of interest in the theater, but there's a few small um, I can't say small, few huge plays and or musicals that really kind of catch my interest, and I have a lot of fun with. Which I will say that Hamilton has been introduced to me through my wife. She actually hadn't seen it for several years of it being out, but she got into the soundtrack, and I actually introduced or suggested the soundtrack to you and a few of my friends or our friends, and Hamilton quickly shot up as one of my favorite musicals that actually exists. And it's again been released on Disney Plus. I think it's a fantastic version of the musical. It's pretty well cut and dry. It's just the musical with the original cast recorded and put on Disney Plus. So if anybody has any interest in that, which again I know that you're not the biggest fan because it's a lot of hip hop rap stuff like that, which is not your style necessarily, but it's a fantastic recording of it, um, and I think it makes it worth the Disney Plus subscription all in itself. My kids have watched it 3 times. My wife's watched it a couple of times, and myself once. So I mean, it's like a 3 hour play. So 9 hours of content from one release. I think that's worthwhile.
Okay. Disney Plus for me, it's all the Star Wars stuff. I mean, hands down. I was able to bust through the
Sure.
Clone Wars, Rebellion, Mandalorian, and I want more. I need more, or I won't resubscribe. So,
I it's all Star Wars or nothing. I like Disney Plus because of the I like the Marvel films. I like all the original '90s. I say original, but all the '90s classics like The Lion King and Aladdin and stuff like that. I did watch some of The Mandalorian. I think I got 3 or 4 episodes in, and to be completely honest, I liked it, but I don't know why. But I dropped out. I just didn't. It didn't grab me and hold on to me. It
there's a
just
little bit of a
something
lull.
yeah. I
And
don't even think I made it to the lull. I've the reviews and things I've seen of it. From what I understand, it's great
no, it's a
up
B.
to a
It's a
point.
B show.
And I think they could have done more, right? They could have made it an A show.
No, no, most definitely. It's the first one.
Maybe
I
just
do
shortened
enjoy
it.
it. Like the first episode, like where they go to find the podling, because he's actually in a pod. Um, that is probably one of the best episodes. Like that fight scene with IG-88, man, where he's just like, because that's what an IG-88 is. Or he's not IG-88, he's IG-80 something. But anyway, does what those assassin droids are. Freaking phenomenal. And so I really
Well,
appreciated because they have the technology now to make that robot do those things. And like Empire Strikes Back, they didn't have that, and I haven't seen that kind of like droid action. What I expect, but like that's what they have. The video games presented that kind of like reference. So
I think that's what got me about the show was that I never felt like the Mandalorian was good at what he did. It always felt like he was coming in last, like he, gets into a shootout in the first episode, and I think he actually holds his own and he does a pretty decent job and he's pretty cool. And then in the second or third episode, he fights like I don't know, like a big dinosaur creature. He just gets his butt kicked, and then the little baby Yoda character ends up like
Clone
saving him.
Yoda, maybe
Is that what
could
it
be.
is?
It could be. I don't know. There's not been any other member of Yoda's species, so it could be a clone. So
Well,
that
it hasn't
that the Empire
introduced
made.
them. They're out there. They're just a limited, like a very secluded species, right? Something like that. I don't know. You
No,
know all the
so
nerdy
so no,
stuff
I
about
understand
the
with
Star.
you. Like the Mandalorians are supposed to be like this warrior race. They're supposed to be ballers, badasses, and he is definitely not that. But you got to remember that the Empire practically wiped out the Mandalorian civilization, and so perhaps he doesn't have the best training. He wasn't born on Mandalore, those kind of things. So
Sure, and I think it could go some interesting places with that. I need to finish the series. Like I said, it's not the biggest investment. It's only something like what 8 episodes.
yeah, it's not that bad.
But with that being said, I do think that Disney Plus is a worthwhile um, investment. I don't know. I have my
I
opinions
wish you
about
didn't
all the
have to
streaming
pay for it.
services.
You
Yeah, it's
already
I
pay for
get it. I
everything
don't even mind.
else.
I don't mind paying for it. And I actually like the way that they do it in the sense that they offer a 1 year streaming subscription. Like you can pay the fee, kind of like Amazon Prime, because
Yeah.
we subscribe, I guess, to 4 different services. We have Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, and Disney Plus. Which I like the idea of paying for Amazon Prime. I think it's $100 a year. I like Disney Plus because it's like I think it was something in the ballpark like $60 a year. And then you have Netflix that they charge you a monthly fee. Hulu they charge you a monthly fee. But the moral of the story is they get you roped in, and you're sitting it like they Apple TV and they or whatever it's called, and they stream. They have a couple of pieces of content that I'm like, oh, I kind of interested in that, but I'm not going to sign up for it. CBS All Access, which we talked about before. I want to watch the new Twilight Zone series. I've watched the first season, but I did it on a free subscription or free trial period. I'm not going to pay for it. I'm just never going to watch this content, especially whenever I could just get, regular cable, which I'm not going to do because there's too much crap and I don't like watching commercials. I don't need 15 different streaming services. And I agree with you. If they don't, for Disney Plus, they did a good job of hooking us. But if they don't do enough to keep our interest, then it's the first one that I think I could see putting by the wayside. But I do know my kids get a lot of entertainment out of it. They go back and watch a ton of stuff. One thing this is not for me, but I've been watching um what's it called? Avatar: The Last Airbender with
Oh, the
my kids.
cartoon?
I've got a yeah, 9 and a
Dude, I love
5-year-old.
that. I love
I
that.
I don't find it. I don't know. It's not gripping me, but they're
Bossing say,
interested in it.
man. Go to the Earth City.
I don't know anything about it. I watched like half of the first episode and I fell asleep. Um, and now what I do is to get them. This is kind of silly to get them away from like their tablets or Roblox on their computers or whatever the case is. I say, hey, come in here and let's watch a show together. So they're just going from one screen to a screen to a screen or whatever the case is. But um, I've been bringing them in, having them sit with me, and then I just take a little nap while they watch the show, and it makes me feel like we've had a little bit of togetherness. Um,
Oh, that's sad.
I think they're like 11 episodes in, though. They like it, but
Yeah, it's
um,
I enjoyed the series, and apparently they're making a live action, so I will definitely partake of that, and hopefully it will not be like Dragon Ball Z
hold
live
on.
action or something.
They're making it like a live action series of it,
Yeah.
like a television show.
Yes.
Okay, not like the movie made by M. Night Shyamalan, and it was the most atrocious thing I've ever seen next to
Didn't
maybe
watch it.
Twilight.
Didn't watch it because it was bad.
I have never seen or had at that point never seen an episode of The Last Airbender, and I went to the theater to see that movie. Granted, I saw like alongside 2 or 3 other movies, and I was blown away by how bad that movie was.
Well, I
But
can
I'll
tell
turn it over to
you.
you, John.
Okay.
Tell me about something that's been entertaining you.
Well, first and foremost, I'll go into sort of the whole COVID thing. So in my town, we just recently passed a mandatory mask ordinance. It's where like you can get fined or educated about wearing a mask out in public or in storefronts and stuff like that. And the businesses are supposed to put signs out and kind of regulate it, which kind of sucks. But whenever you have something that's a hot topic for people, the cockroaches and idiots will always try to find the podium to speak their mind. There is this guy that's not even from my town who does business in my town and apparently is running for some legislator seat for my state. And this guy is just crazy.
I'm in this town almost every day during the day in my real estate business. And I will not have a city council. I will not have a mayor. I will not have a president. I will not have a governor. I will not have a sheriff tell me I have to wear a mask.
He is batshit crazy. He goes from like one extreme to the other, and I just want to just make fun of him.
A mask is a personal infringement on my right. God give us an ability to breathe. And if you cover that, you restrict that, how does that work? How does that help?
He has a bit in there where like he quotes the Bible out of some like random verse that has nothing to do with anything.
And the summary of Ezekiel 37 was there's a whole valley of dead bones. 37:8. And when I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh come upon them, and the skin covered them, and above there was no breath in them. Then he said unto me, prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, thus saith the Lord God, come upon the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain that they may live. We get to breathe. We get to breathe. And when we do it through a mask, we're reducing our breath.
He like touts the fact that he has a holster on his hip.
If you'll notice on my hip, I have a holster. That's a holster for a gun. If you want to make everybody safe, why don't everybody wear a gun? okay? A mask is not going to make everybody safe.
You want to protect people. A mask isn't going to protect people. Why don't we give everybody a gun? That'll protect them. It's like, man, I don't know if you know anything, but viruses are definitely smaller than a bullet, so I don't know if you can aim that well. And then he goes into, like, he makes a correlation that the mandate for people to wear a mask in public is the same as the city council picking out what color of underwear one would wear.
If we're going to make people wear masks, we need to make them choose the underwear that we pick out every day. Monday is blue, Tuesday is green, Wednesday is yellow so that we can't see the P, Thursday is orange, and Friday is red. How's that work?
And he goes through the entire thing, like a cornucopia of colors. We're getting the full Lucky Charms cereal box worth of freaking colors for underwear. And then he doesn't mention anything about the weekend. I'm just like, what, we're gonna free ball it? Are we going commando on the weekend? What's going on here, buddy? What happened to the weekend?
I was just gonna say, I'm glad you brought up the underwear thing. I brought up just a couple of quotes here from the Florida hearing where they were thinking about doing a mandate where the masks were required, and I have a couple of awesome quotes that will go along to with what you're saying. One woman says, "I don't wear a mask for the same reason I don't wear underwear. Things got to breathe." So I'm not sure what's breathing in her underwear, but either way,
I
here's
know
another
it's
one.
breathing.
Masks throw God's wonderful breathing system out the door. And then, how will young children be able to know who the dangerous deviants are if everyone's wearing a mask? And then this last one, very simply, a second wave will be due to masking. So by wearing a mask, we're going to incite a second wave of COVID-19. This person says, I don't want to breathe in my own germs. I might get sick.
Well, you already got him.
What's wrong with these people, John? What is wrong with these people?
You open up a public forum, and they will, like, what's that saying? If you build it, they will come. So if you open up the mic, somebody's gonna talk. I mean, that's how it goes.
I wonder how much of this is these people just needing attention, or if they actually believe this nonsense.
On the JoplinMo.org website, they have all the city council meetings. They're all recorded. They're like 4 gigs a pop. But if you want to watch crazy, I mean, they might even have it in Green Bay. I don't know if you guys released your videos for your city council meetings, but when people go up there, they are just loonies. Most of them are loonies. They got a lot of free time to think about these things that make them upset, and then they have a lot of free time to get, especially in COVID times. Like in my city council, it's first come, first serve. So you got to be ready to sit out there because they don't allow a lot of people in there. So you got to be out there wasting your time in line to get into the city council meeting. So it's like, all right, go. But anyway, so
I've said this before.
Listening to people, that has entertained me, like counter their arguments and stuff like that.
Sure. I've said this before, but when it comes to the COVID, the whole outbreak, whenever we go back to the beginning of it, when it started coming to our cities and our states, our country in general, it really felt like we band together and we did a good job of saying we were going to try to, wear masks and shelter in place and things like that. And then as soon as the government stepped in and said that everybody had to, it's like a switch flipped and it went from, I'm willing to help out and try to make the world a better place to I'm going to dig my heels in and try to fight you because I'm not going to be told what to do. I'm tired of everybody needing to state their opinions about how you're infringing on my rights, and it's just a joke. It is an absolute joke that these people don't care. Like I said, we just went camping and 15 people potentially got infected. 15 people that sheltered in place, stayed at home, did everything they could. I wear a mask to work 100% of the time. You have a group of 15 people and everybody is supposedly staying at home, wearing their masks, being as conscientious as possible. And then one person goes to a meeting for a small period of time. Next thing you know that they're infected and now they're infecting potentially everybody else. It's just, it does show you how quickly this stuff can spread. And even if my case, because like I said, in my scenario, if I do have it, and there's a chance that I don't, but there's a good chance that I do.
Now you're going to have to update everybody on the results of that now.
For sure. And I haven't been affected by it. If I do have it, my wife has had a very, very low grade fever and she's been healthy otherwise. My kids are the same way. my sister-in-law, she has had it, or she does definitely have it. Um, and she had a fever. She was feeling nauseous. She had a lot more symptoms. My father-in-law, who was the first person to have it, has had a lot more aggressive symptoms, but it hasn't ruined anybody's lives in this scenario. But we're all healthy individuals, and I say healthy in the sense that we don't have pre-existing conditions. We're not elderly, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
But all it takes for one of us to go to our grandparents' house. Um, my wife's grandfather has cancer, so if
not
we
going.
stupidly went to yeah, exactly. If we stupidly went to deliver him groceries, not knowing, um, that could have been the end of that, and that would have been terrible. But no one cares. They just want to. They want to be able to let their vagina breathe.
Florida only. I want you to know that in Florida, nothing breathes because it's all swamp weather anyhow. So you can
That's
not
a
wear
good point.
underwear and let the gator out. That's on you. I'm just saying, it's all scaly down there. Stay
I
away.
I just don't. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get the uproar. I don't get the frustration. And frankly, I don't need it in my life. People just need to just shut up.
Well,
Just
that's
deal
all
with it.
right. I'm going to tell you about something else that's frustrating me. So I've been playing XCOM Chimera Squad. Okay, not
Go for it.
Crimea, but Chimera Squad.
Not Crimea. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like it takes place post XCOM 1 and 2. We've beat back the aliens. Of course, they had occupied us. I just feel like my characters and the technology that I have should be on par with how I ended the first one. And it's not the case. I've got like, I don't know, I'm still using machine guns. And I definitely had like plasma rifles and lasers at the end of the second one, but here I am using an SMG. Like, what the fudge? Also, and I'm not very far into the game. I'm fighting like hybrids who are like kidnapping people and trying to bring about the the ancients or Eldar or whatever they were beforehand. Not Eldar, but Elders who took over Earth to begin with. But I mean, like, I don't know. Is this going to be like single-sided where only hybrids and aliens are the bad guys, or are there going to be actually like humans who are trying to like mess up? Because there's this city 31, it's like a metropolitan, like there's aliens, hybrids, and regular people all living together under harmony. But like, there's going to be a need a point where it's, maybe the regular people are bad guys as well, like some xenophobic, neo-Nazis or whatever you want to call them. So I don't know. It's an aggravating fact that like I'm trying to take down a turret with a shotgun. It's like shotgun with what? Tungsten rounds or like where's my tech, dude? I had guys in mech armor at the end of the second one, like chop
But you're
off all
playing
their
as a different
limbs.
character, right?
Yeah, but I mean like it's an organization, sub organization of XCOM. It should be. We've got 3D printers where we manufacture whatever we need as long as we have the templates. I'll download the damn file and let's print some plasma blasters. What the hell?
You know what I appreciate about you? It's the fact that you're not angry at the systems in the game. You're not mad that it's like, you know, well, we've come this far. It's like Metroid, for instance. Every Metroid game, Samus like loses all of her powers and stuff like that, and you're like, man, I'm just tired of doing this. You're frustrated about the fact that the common sense that you carry in real life isn't transferring over into this game world. Like, if I had developed a mech suit 10 years ago to fight these enemy, then I would still be using it today. And you're like, I want to start out in a mech suit and I want to go from there. I want to be, I don't know, injecting myself with superhero serum and turning myself halfway into a robot. I
Well,
don't know.
okay, so here's my deal. Like, they could have done it. I've seen games do that where you have like a profile or a saved file from the previous game that you owned, and it will take certain aspects of that save or certain events from that gameplay and then
Oh, sure.
apply that
You're
to the
talking
next
like
one.
Mass Effect. Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. So they could have done that. They could have said like, because like in the earlier XComs, you could have gone to genetic manipulation, where you like modified people's genomes to give them superpowers, extra strength, speed, and stuff like that to fight the aliens, which I did not do because I'm against that. Or you could have gone to like cybernetics and stuff, which is what I employed in my troops to take out the enemy. So they could have incorporated that into this next version of XCOM to e- expand on the same style of gameplay that you had beforehand. So like if you had gone a perfectly psychic route, and then like that's implemented into the next one, like now there's more psychic people or whatever, or the weapons are more psychic based, and I think that that might even got you to play the XCOM 2 again. Like, okay, I need to do the mech. I need to go to the different check tree. Let's not do the gene modifications. Let's now do let's go mechanical cybernetics. But
I don't know if you said this, but this game was released on April 24th for PC, but and that's it from what I see so far. But it is set 5 years after the ending of XCOM 2.
yeah,
So you are right in the sense that
should
these
be
people should be prepared. Yeah, you're not walking around with pistols trying to fight robots and stuff like that. Shouldn't be anyway.
Yeah. The other thing that does make me mad is I do have a couple of mechs, but I cannot deploy the mechs. And these aren't like big mechs or anything. They're like the stuff off of Elysium or District 9, robot kind of guys. As I cannot deploy them until one of my members
The
goes down.
Matrix 3.
Huh?
The Matrix 3.
No. Those are actually like mech robot suits. I'm just talking about like droids. I don't actually get to deploy them until I have a member of my squad go down. I'm just like, why? If I'm rolling out this APC, hopefully it's got like some wireless
I'd be starting
signals,
in these. What are you guys doing?
right? Yeah. Let's pump out the factory of droids and let's take care of business. I want a robotic police force going down just off of like Chappie. I want that stuff going down. Give me Yolandi Vesser anytime, every time. And let's kill people that are the bad guys. But anyhow,
Well, as far as you are into this game, you're how many hours roughly, would you say?
7 now, I think. So,
And you're anticipating about a 14 to 15 hour experience.
yeah, probably, to be honest with you. Well, I'm technically I'm forced to wait a certain amount of days, which I think sucks too. So there's pivotal like areas on the map which are purple, and you have so many days, and I'm not sure if like you collect more intelligence, like that the time way goes by, but every time a day goes by, they increase in the amount of like chaos or the warning of that area, and at some point then it increases the all over like anarchy in the city. And like there's one where it's like it's 9, but it's got a question mark. You cannot go into that territory and resolve whatever the problem is until you figure out what it is. So I have to wait 9 days or 5 days or whatever. And I'm just like, I think that the developer should have, like, if you wanted to jump in that zone, you don't know what the hell's going on in there. You just know that something's up, and I think that they should have like increased the difficulty or increased the civilian casualties. Like, what's preventing? I know something's going on over there. I know I have to rectify the situation. Let me go in there and figure it out. Where they're kind of like, you have to
Are
wait the
these
amount of time.
real days?
No, not our 24-hour periods, but it's like,
Oh, okay.
the next day in the game.
I was gonna be angrier than I've ever been in my entire life if that was gonna be the case.
I cannot play a game where I'm forced to get on every day. Can't do that.
Right. I played a little bit of Animal Crossing back whenever it came out, and I actually really got into it for about a month, but it wore thin after a little bit, and yeah, moved on. But well, since we're talking about video games, I'm going to roll into the game that's been entertaining me over this last week, and that is Huntdown, and it was released on May 12th of this year for $20 on the PlayStation 4, Xbox, Switch, and I almost said PlayStation again, on PC, which I think you had a problem with the idea that it was released on the Epic Store.
Yeah.
I know you're a huge fan of the Epic Store.
Well, sure. With
I'm
my
being
one
sarcastic,
purchase.
of course. Yeah. But Huntdown, it's actually an arcade action side scroller, 16-bit, maybe beat 'em up / shoot 'em up, I guess I would call it. And I did play through and actually just beat the game yesterday officially. And to give a little bit of a a little bit of a synopsis on it. It's very simply, you're one of 3 mercenaries that you can choose from, and you're going to fight through these different gangs. There are 4 different gangs to start out, and there are 5 different bosses that you come across in these different sections. So you start out with the low level and work your way up to the highest, and that is kind of the breakdown. So it's very much like the old school games like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, Alien versus Predator, side scroller. I'm blanking on some Streets of Rage, et cetera, et cetera. But it's, in my opinion, it's an absolutely fantastic side-scrolling beat 'em up. I think it's something that everyone should probably check out in the grand scheme of things if they're into that style of game. I was actually talking to a couple of employees several days ago, and I was mentioning any of these games that I just brought up, and they hadn't even heard of them. Like they don't even understand they're a little younger, in the 18 to 20 range, but they don't even know what side-scrolling beat 'em ups are nowadays. So it's a
Really?
genre that's been long forgotten, which is very sad to me. Um, but one of my complaints that I had about this game in an earlier conversation is that it was a little too easy, because it does feel to me like it's a little bit more of a boss rush mode. So like they had ideas for 20 really great boss fights, and then they went in and they tacked on levels because the levels are a little bit on the short side. Um, but having gone through the entirety of the game at this point, it does have a nice difficulty spike, but it doesn't really hit until the final stage. So it's the last 5 bosses are they ramp way up. They go from being like a, I don't know, a 4 difficulty to like a 8 or 9 difficulty. But it's just like the old Mega Man games. You have to get into the rhythm and kind of sort out the patterns of the bosses and the enemies that come through. Um, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm still going back. I'm thinking about trying to work on that platinum trophy, but I don't know if I'm actually going to go for it because it requires you to beat it on the hardest difficulty and 100%ing it on the hardest difficulty, which you unlock badass mode whenever you beat the game on any difficulty, and that is going to make it the hardest. And you literally get one hit. So if anyone shoots you at any point in the game, you're out. So I did play through the first level and the first boss on that, and it wasn't very difficult because you get used to it. But as I go on, I know it's going to get increasingly more frustrating, and I don't know if that's something I'm actually going to be able to do. So
Can't handle
with
it right now.
all of that, it's very stressful. I will say that. But the I don't know, the difficulty, the difference in the bosses, the ways that the different characters play. There's a male, a female, and then a robot that you can play through as. It is multiplayer, so you can pick it up and play with a friend. I have no idea if it would even be good. I would compare it exclusively to Contra. It's a very Contra style game.
Not
Um,
Broforce.
no,
That's more
Broforce is a little
guns.
more. Yeah,
Bullet
well,
hell kind of thing.
this is almost exclusively guns, but it never goes full bullet hell. It's pretty articulated. There is one boss specifically that gets very bullet hellish. She's actually, it's kind of cool. Her character design. She's a lady sitting at a desk with a VR helmet on,
Hmm.
and then she transports throughout the level, and she has a snake around her neck. So occasionally she'll throw her snake at you. Um, but after you beat her, her health refills, and then you just fight a large version of her snake. And then once you kill the snake, it fries her at the desk. The VR system like malfunctions and it kills her, and then you beat the level. So it's actually amazing as far as the boss fights go. So like they just have different. They start out easy. You just beat them once and they're done, and then they have different variations, different forms. Other ones have different environmental hazards. There's one that's like a kung fu master that has a shotgun, so he just walks around trying to shoot you with a shotgun. And then he gets mad and he does this tornado shotgun, so he'll spin around and just fire his shotgun everywhere. And then about halfway through his life, there's these floating dragons that come in that have like explosives in their mouth. So you're having to take out the explosives while staying away from his shotgun. If you get too close to him, he'll kick you across the screen and does like triple damage. It's actually, like I said, a lot of variation in the bosses, a lot of fun to be had in the game for sure. So I strongly, strongly recommend it to anyone that would enjoy side scroll 'em, old school beat 'em up, shoot 'em up. Again, especially just 16-bit action games or arcade style action games. They actually did make an arcade cabinet while I was looking up information on this. Um,
Yeah, I
you
saw
can
that.
request, you can put an interest in for an arcade cabinet. I don't know
Big money.
that I would need any of those, but I think it would be pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, if for the right price, I mean, you don't own anything like that. Would you ever buy an arcade cabinet? Let's take the price out of it. Would you ever buy an arcade cabinet?
No,
So you just would never want that in your house.
correct.
See, that's something that's always been on my list. I've always wanted to own one.
Like
I
if you
just
had a
don't know
man
what
cave or
game I would
something,
go
but I'm
for.
just like, man, I can make something smaller. Like, so I don't know. I've gone through phases in my life where I've like built a huge giant computer that has like the biggest case, the most fans, and now I've got like, you know, something that's small, compact, still a beast, but um, not as large. So, I don't know, kind
Sure.
of condensing
Well, see, I think
everything.
it would definitely be a conversation piece, and that's the part that does make me like halt and not want to buy one, because I think I would want it to be a dedicated system. I made my favorite arcade games. My favorite arcade cabinet of all time is Space Invaders, um, but you can build a PC and an arcade cabinet and have like every arcade game in its entirety in that
Seen it,
in
Raspberry
that cabinet.
Pis and stuff. Yeah.
And I just don't know if I would want that, because again, I would want it to be a dedicated and actually a dedicated cabinet and actually have the design of the original cabinets, which I think would be really a really cool thing to own. Um, but I don't have any conversations to be had with anybody. No one's going to be coming over and playing with it, so it's
Especially when
just going to
you're
sit in a corner. And
COVID ass over there. Nobody's coming over.
that's true. No one comes over regardless, so I don't want to try to act like they do. But I'm going to transition over into my last thing that was entertaining me this week, and that is Unsolved Mysteries. It was released in June of this year for Netflix. Uh, the original Unsolved Mysteries, I believe, came out in 1987. This one keeps a fairly similar format, but it's broken up into 6 episodes, and they're more of a mini documentary ranging from 40 minutes to 55 minutes. There's no host. It just dives right into the story, and they range from, in my opinion, um, fair to great. I'd say 3 of the episodes are great, 2 of the episodes are fine, and then one of the episodes specifically is fair at best. Um, but it kept me interested and kept me going. I'm a huge fan of the old Unsolved Mysteries. I like the paranormal, the murder mysteries, the disappearances, the UFOs, all of that fun stuff. And this one does delve into specifically 1 episode of UFO sightings and then 5 episodes of either murder mysteries or disappearances. There are no paranormal investigations in this series so far, um, but I do give it my recommendation. I think they do a great job. It's very much documentary focused. They do a good job of attaching on a little bit of a hook to keep you going, but each one is concluded to the best of its ability at the end of each episode. It's I mean, the spoiler in the title, but it's the only frustrating part to me is that all of these are just unsolved cases, so they don't ever get a good resolution. Um, except for in the original series, they would occasionally do updates and show you
And we found that
clips where
because we
people,
showed this show. We found this mother.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's exactly what happens, and I'm interested to see if they actually follow that up
Like ET's
during
dead. We
this
got him.
series. Yeah, exactly. But I do give it my recommendation. But um, yeah, that's it as far as what's been entertaining me this week. I think we wanted to try to talk about our some of our favorite games of all time. I think we're going to end on that note, and we want to compile a list. And I have a little bit of a game that we can play once we get a nice little list gathered here. And I think you had delved into a game, so I'm going to have you do it again if that's all right. Sins of the Solar Empire.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, no, I could talk about Sins of a Solar Empire. It's a great RTS. It's not a 4D RTS, and there's 3 predominant species: capitalistic tech organization, regular humans. There's a psyker race of humans that have been like kicked out. Now they're banished, nomadic, or come back with revenge. And then there's the Visari, which are like an alien slave trading people that are on the run from something, and so they're very aggressive when they come in. But I think you kind of realize, and it's also in the series, you realize that they are fleeing something, and like it's really cool because you can build capital ships which are monstrous, and then they included these Titan ships that are even bigger. And I generally play as the tech because it's in English, not some weird Visari language. Um, but I play as a turtle, and so like I build out my base, I defend my worlds really well, and then I build that commerce up. So I'm a little slow at taking territory, but don't don't let this. I'm a snapping turtle. I might be a turtle, but I'm a snapper. So you know, don't don't dangle some meat in front of me. I'll take it. Um, and so that kind of happens. I'll let somebody try to push in on a planet that they really want, that I've got a lot of defenses I'm really confident in, and then on the other side, I'll swing my troops in or something like that and try to, not necessarily a pincer, I'll like take a beating from the left, but I'll just come in at the right with the hook, and they might not be ready for it because they'll figure that their attack will take all of my attention or something like that. But I really do love
Sounds
it.
like you're giving away all of your strategy. So now
Come and
everybody's
get
gonna know
it.
how to beat you.
Come and get it. So no, like I've ton of hours in that game. LAN parties with that game. It's just something that is a 32-bit, and I remember it like crushing our computers back in the day. We're like, everybody would have so many forces, so many troops, and we'd be like going into these battles, and then somebody would be zooming in, scrolling in to watch the battle take place, and then like everything would come to a screeching halt as it went eat, 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 and we're like, yo, Kyle, zoom out, stop watching it. Your computer can't handle looking at the battle. And so I don't know, a lot of fond memories over that kind of like action, and then limitations of hardware in the game at the time. So I don't know, it has a fond
Is
place
this
in
a
my
game that
heart.
you do you still play it on occasion, or is it mostly just nostalgic at this point?
No, like if a couple of my friends like Jordan or whatever is like, hey, you know what, we need to get a game going of Sins of a Solar Empire. If we have a LAN party or something, I'm down. Always there. So
It's a long game too, right?
it most definitely can be. It could be like 4 or 5 hours or more.
Oh, gotcha. Well, to go into my favorite game, it's one of the games of all time, if not the favorite of mine. It's Mega Man 2 on the original NES. Back in 1987, I think the game was released, and it's kind of topical because I talked about Hunt Down and the side-scrolling arcade action shooter, et cetera, et cetera. But Mega Man 2, like I said, one of my favorite games of all time. Everybody knows about it. It is very much um, one of the most uh, regularly cited. I don't know. I guess it would be in a lot of people's top 50 games of all time. So it's nothing too terribly crazy here. Um, but I love the systems that they put in place. It is definitely an advanced version of Mega Man 1. And they introduced 8 robot masters instead of the original 6 that they had built on. Whenever you kill one of the bosses, you pick up one of their weapons, and then you can utilize that along the way. It's very much built on the rock paper scissors system that paper beats rock, rock beats scissors. I don't know why I lost that there, but so you beat a boss, you get their power, then you fight a boss that is more in line. So you take Bubble Man, you beat him, then you take those bubbles on to Heat Man, and then that'll give you a heads up or a leg up in the fight. So a lot of this is nostalgic for me, but it's one of those games that I've bought on every single system that I can think of that has been released on. I actually looking at the box for the NES Classic right here, which has Mega Man 2 on it. Um, Anytime it pops up, I think I even bought a phone version several years ago, and it was terrible. But I just was like, man, that'd be a fun game to play on an emulator. And I mean, the game is fantastic. It has one of the best soundtracks. I've told you this before, but I used to play through the original 8 Robot Masters, and I'd get to Wily's Castle, and the first level of Wily's Castle is just a fantastic piece of music, and I just literally just put it on that screen, and I would let it sit and just play whenever I was younger. It's one of the games I've taken my kids to. and let them kind of revisit. It's not for them; they're a little too young for it. But hopefully, one of these days they can get into it. And this is where I'll toot my own horn for a minute. I was looking up previously uh, the speed runs and the times to beat it, and I believe it was somewhere in the 26 to 27 minute range. I am able to beat it in about a 47-minute window, and that was on my last run. I'm now that we're talking about it, and I go back to it at least once or twice a year, but I'm really itching to get back in and start playing it again. I think I beat it at least 2 times every single year since I was 3 or 4 years old. One of my earliest memories is sitting playing it with my brother and my father. Um, and I wasn't able, obviously, to beat it, but I beat it with them. We would take turns passing the controllers around, and it's yeah, just a fantastic video game. I again strongly suggest it to anybody that appreciates old NES classics, and yeah, I have a lot of fun with it. So that's one of my favorite games, if not my favorite game of all time. And spoiler alert, as I go through this, I've been keeping a list in my phone of my favorite games of all time, and it does read as kind of a generic list of favorite games. I think people are going to hear a lot of very obvious ones. I do have a couple of surprises on here, but I'm hoping yours gets a little bit more out there. I mean, Sins of a Solar Empire is a game I don't think a lot of people have even heard or experienced. So
Nope, but
I'm
they
anxious to
should.
see where your list goes.
It's gonna be all over the place.
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you. So have you picked up on the PC Mega Man Legacy Collection too? Does that include? It's like $20. Does it include Mega Man 2? Oh no, wait, was
there's
it Blue
Mega
Bombers?
Man there's the Mega Man Legacy Collection,
Yeah,
and
this
yes,
one
it
number two
includes
and
one
just
through
includes.
six, I believe.
Okay, yeah, so you got to get the first one. The second one includes 7, 8, 9, and 10. I see.
Right. Yep. And there's 4 different collections so far. There's the Legacy Collection 2, and then Mega Man X Legacy Collection and Legacy Collection 2. Um, I love all of the games to some degree. There's a lot of argument to be made for people that think that Mega Man 3 is the best one. I just, like I said, it's nostalgia for me, but Mega Man 3 just kind of builds off the same exact systems of Mega Man 2. I will say 3 is a little bit harder, maybe even a lot harder, um, which I know a lot of people appreciate in a game like this. But if we want to talk hard, I mean, they all have
Oh, we can talk
increase.
hard.
Just think, no,
I stopped you
you're
there,
not
man.
joking. Um, yeah, I got taken aback for a second. No, they all have a aggressive level of difficulty, but the bosses just get a little bit more zany, and there's not quite as much of a connection. Like the original 6 Robot Masters was pretty obvious. You beat Bomb Man to take out Guts Man, which is the Rock Man, right? So Bomb beats Rock, et cetera, et cetera. There actually literally is a Cut Man, so he has scissors on his head because he cuts down trees. So Rock beats Scissors, so your Guts Man power beats the Scissor Man, which is Cut Man. The sequel, like I said, Mega Man 2, your water still beats the fire, but there's air beats a bomb, so there's Airman, and then there's Crash Man, so your air beats Crash. So you have to do a little bit more figuring out of who beats what and what beats who, and so on and so forth. But um, then in a third one, they kind of jump the shark a little bit, in my opinion, and they introduce like Snake Man, probably in my opinion the most iconic villain in that game. Um, but what beats Snake? I don't know. It doesn't really work in the system.
Mowgli.
That's true. You have a very good point there, and that's a Jungle Book reference.
Yes, sir.
Let's see here. I'm actually looking up right now what beats Snake Man, because I'm a bit of a Puritan when it comes to the Mega Man. I like to play with the OG Mega Buster, which is not any of the special powers. I just like to just rip and roar. Snake Man, it says use Mega Buster, so I guess that's the one that works out best for him. So
Yeah, you
just
set that shit up. Yeah.
and speaking of hard, in the third game there is a robot master called Hard Man. So
Yep,
maybe
that's
it's
where it goes from like PEGI 16 or whatever to NC 17 or mature.
yeah,
Sorry, you've
definitely
reached
a
this. You're
mature.
gonna have to have your parents type in their password to allow you to play Hard Man.
And then they just they sell the game at their local video game store because they said, "What is this filth?" It's like listening to Kiss back in the '70s and early '80s. It's um, parents just didn't understand it. They thought everything was terrible. You get the hard man, you're like, what is this garbage that my kid's playing? It's kind of like in it's kind of like in Mario Brothers 2, where you could play as Princess Peach. What are you talking about? Women can't fight Bowser?
Done. Cut
No,
it off.
I'm kidding. And we move on from there.
Well,
But
she kept on getting
John, do you
captured,
have,
so I mean,
she had to fight back. That's true. But you had Mario, Luigi, and Toad contributing to the fight. I will say Peach was the best to play as in that game because she could float, and I loved that.
yeah.
So, anyway, John, do you have anything to add before we wrap this up?
No, sir. I'm excited for next week. I've been being studious, trying to entertain myself. So,
That's
not
good.
in a hard man kind of way. I've been trying to entertain myself, video games and other things like that. I got some house projects I need to do, which may be entertaining. We'll see how that is. I linked you. It's one of those like 16-bit, 32-bit games. The Carry On. We'll figure that out. Maybe it's a purchase. I don't know. It's on Linux, so I might pick it up.
I'm
But
looking it up. I'm looking at it right now.
look at
Loading it up.
Would you
Actually,
look
I
at
think
it?
I saw the trailer for this. I think it looks pretty cool. I was perusing through Steam earlier to look for some good deals, and yeah, I think this is pre-purchase. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
it's not out yet. It's not out yet.
Okay, so this is going to be released on the 23rd of this month. So
Yes, sir.
you and I, hopefully, by our next recording, we're playing a game, the same game. So we'll see how that works out.
You're probably gonna get a lot further than me because like I gotta smash stuff. So
No, I mean, we won't reveal the game that we're playing yet. I'm not gonna dig too deep into it. I don't know. I think I'm gonna have a different opinion on you than you. So I'm excited to have that
we'll find
conversation.
out. There's a couple things we won't talk about it. I'll save it for later.
Yeah, we'll get into it next.
It's it.
Yeah, well,
Some
with
of the
that being
same
said, this has
frustrations
been-
that I've had with the prequel.
Okay, fair enough. Well,
So-
with that being said, this has been the Nobody Entertainment Podcast. My name is James, and this is John. Thank you so much for
John
joining us. We look
Nobody.
forward to talking with you. John Nobody.
That's right.
Look forward to talking with you next week.
All right, take care.